Alright everybody, welcome back to the KSR YouTube channel. It's race day, well almost race day for the new 300Z, for the new SC300. We had a quick list we checked off this morning. Quite a few little things we had to get ready before CJ and I could hit the road. And we cleaned her up a little bit. CJ's torquing the wheels. I'm about to go for a quick test drive so that we can load it in the box and head to PBIR. So let's go for a test drive. All right, here goes nothing, something. Oh boy, there's the pads. This thing's got good brakes. The brakes are good in this thing. Always gotta salute the other shops when you drive by, right? Tell some of my buddies. Back in. All right, well, quick little test drive. I'm gonna put the new tires on because I didn't want to drive around the industrial park and risk popping a new tire. So good enough. Time to head to the track. All right, well, we are loaded in the box and got all of our gear, all kinds of goodies in here, which is actually a little bit loose in here right now, I'm not gonna lie. Normally when we take two cars she's slammed to the gills. Like, we pack stuff all the way up in there, but this time we just kind of threw it up in here because we got to get on the road. We got one car. Yeah, let's go racing. All right, everybody, well, we are at the racetrack, and you guys were wondering who the other driver was.
Hey guys,
we're gonna go see if we can win us an 8-hour race. It's been a long time since I've raced with a Champ car. Even longer for you. What was it? 18, 19, something like that? We ran Sebring.
Yeah, cool. It's been a while. Long race.
No spinning out 25 yards before the finish line.
I'm gonna try not to do that and hit the wall, you know. But there's no jumps.
No jumps. Yeah, there is no jumps here. So, all right. So the way Champ car works, there's no qualifying. There's 50 cars in this race, and they drew a number in the drivers meeting, and the number they draw, whether it's an odd number or an even number, the number they draw is the car that's on the pole. If it's an odd number, they go one direction down pit road, and that's how the cars follow out. And if it's an even number, they go the other direction on pit road. So we ended up about mid-pack to start the race. It's an 8-hour race. There's gonna be 4 hours with an hour-long break in the middle, and then another 4 hours to wrap it up. So I gotta go get in the car, and then Peter's getting the camera onboard camera set up. It's time for us to go racing.
All right, here we are, Palm Beach International Raceway. Probably one of the last races that'll ever take place here. This track is closing down, unfortunately. How you feeling, Kev?
Excited. It's been a minute since I've been in a road race car.
Yeah, you got a long drive ahead of you, buddy. 2-hour drive, and then I drive 2 hours, and you drive 2 hours, and I finish it off.
And you're gonna bring home the checkers.
Bring home the W.
That's right.
Get a W today, buddy. Come on.
Sweet.
We got oil, we got fuel, and we got a driver. So you go do your thing.
I'm certainly gonna try.
We got radios, so just holler if you need us.
All right, actually get a radio on, CJ, so we can
I'll do a radio check.
Radio check.
Got it.
I think so.
Heck yeah, brother.
Woo! All right, well, a little bit of last-minute thrashing, but we're good. Radio check. Is that CJ? You sound different on the radio, CJ. Yep, we're good. Well, here we go for what is going to be the last race ever at Palm Beach International Raceway. Now, a little history here for you guys about me. This is actually the first track that I ever road raced at back at the 2010 24 Hour of Lemons race with our 300ZX chop top car that you guys have only seen in pictures on the channel so far. But we came here in 2010. It was a 24-hour race that started at midnight and was going to end at midnight on New Year's Eve. So that basically the race ended right as you bring in the new year. The short story of that race is we blew a head gasket after 10 hours after having set the fastest lap of the event. But fastest car doesn't always win the race. But let's jump into the action that's happening right now on the track. And if you see, I'm scrubbing the tires in because we have a brand new set of tires on the car that have only been driven in the trailer and out of the trailer to the starting grid. Now, Champ Car does mandate a 200 tread wear rating on your tires. So that's basically going to be some kind of extreme performance tire or extreme summer performance tire. These tires do not do well in cold weather because of the rubber compound being softer than your average street tire, but they still are a street legal tire and they do pretty well in the rain. There's different brands that do better in the rain and some that do worse in the rain just because of different tread thicknesses. But we run a Hankook RS4 on our cars, which seem to wear pretty good but also give us good traction. I've moved on now to warming the brakes up because we know we're going to need the brakes pretty early as we get to racing. You never want to go into the first corner with cold brakes, because if you do, you might just run into the guy ahead of you. Now, I will tell you guys, this is an extremely long video, if you haven't already noticed that before now, where you clicked on the video. But we're about to get started racing here, and a lot of it's going to be just raw footage, just so you know. And Cletus jumps in after a few minutes of me driving, so you guys want to see him jump in the car and get up to speed, that's later in this video. But for now, we're going to get started racing here, and you'll notice that I take it easy for the first little bit, just because you can't win the race on the first corner, but you can certainly lose it if you go crashing into somebody. And that's something that Randy Popes talked to me about years ago, because in the past I did have a problem with being a little too aggressive and making contact with some other people. But anyways, here we go for the green flag. Hope you guys enjoy some of the action. Let's enjoy the sound of the 2JZ wound out every straightaway. So one of the things you may be able to see already is that there's a big variety of different cars. Miatas, Mustangs, a couple of Camaros, some Corvettes, some rotary powered RX-7s, a couple of Civics, all kinds of different cars. And some cars do things better than other cars do. Like some cars are better in the corners, like the Miatas, and our Lexus makes okay power, like it makes 220-ish wheel horsepower, but it's heavier than, say, a Miata, so it doesn't do so great in the corners or on the brakes. So this corner right here is the reason why I put my oil pan on the car that had the big wide kickouts on it that I showed in a previous video. If you go back and watch the timestamp, I'm turning the car to the right for over 13 seconds. And my feeling was that was going to push all the oil over to the side of the oil pan for too long of a time period, to the point that it would let the oil pump suck up air and starve the bearings for oil, and obviously that's not a good thing.
one of the things that I have always liked about racing with Champ Car is that there's such a wide variety of speed of the cars that are on the track, so there is always somebody to race with. Now you guys saw a Miata and a Civic pass me, and I haven't been able to catch them back yet. Now I get quicker as the day goes on, or as my stint goes on, but it's still some more serious work to try and catch them. And then there's other cars I'm trying to work through and pass while I'm still catching them to try and pass them back. So this car that I'm racing with right now actually started one position ahead of us, and he ran off for me at the beginning of the race, and I'm starting to get the feel for the car again pretty good, and the feel for the track, and I've caught back up to them. And the short story with these guys is we have raced with these guys all the way since the first time I ever raced at this track. So my first road race ever, and Ed and the guys that race this car, they have been running this same car for a lot of years, and it actually has an automatic transmission. something you don't hear a lot of in the road race world, but it is something that they have made work. And you can tell we're kind of a dogfight with the Civic, myself, the Infinity, and if you look in the mirror, there is a white Mustang that's catching all of us. And unfortunately, this video clip is going to end in a minute, and the clip after this got lost somewhere. Got lost in the GoPro, got lost in the transfer from Cletus to me. All of this footage is actually from Cletus's camera, and we had talked about at the beginning of the race that we had used my cameras outside the car and use his camera in the car. So that's basically what we did. And unfortunately, we lost some footage somewhere along the way, and I ended up having some really good racing with the Mustang here. Kind of followed him for a few laps to learn a couple of things that I could do better. Obviously, the guys that are faster than you want to try to learn from them. So I learned a few things from him, and then I'm able to match lap times with him. And you can see I'm chasing the car loose to try and keep up with him, and I end up doing so. And then we have some really good racing. But you won't get to see that, but you can see me racing some other cars here in just a second.
as of the electronic standings. Don't know if they're right, but I mean, Kevin's been passing people, so we'll just hope they are. A lot of people are having to come in and pit. We've been out. Let's go, Kevin. Let's go, brother. Kevin's managed to hold on to first place. He is pitting in about 10 minutes. We're pulling him in. I'll be hopping in, changing out some camera batteries, fueling up. We got our fuel ready, and we'll go from there. We just got our radios fixed, so those are working now. That's a huge help. And I've never driven this track before in my life, so that'll be an interesting little learning curve right off the bat, especially as a leader. But there should be cars still. The good news is there will be cars out there, so hopefully I can get out, follow someone for a little bit before I get comfortable, and then let it rip.
All right, it is time for a pit stop. One of the first things you may notice is Cletus is wearing the exact same fire suit that I am. Well, what happened there was I had custom ordered a fire suit, and the first one that they sent me was for someone that was taller and heavier than I was. You can see my suit fits me really nice. They had measured me. Well, for some reason, something got mixed up along the way, and not only was it too big for me, but it was also a two-piece suit instead of a one-piece suit. So they let me keep the incorrectly made one, and I brought it along with us because CJ was going to wear it for fueling, because the fueler has to also be geared up with a fire suit. Well, when Cletus showed up at the track, he had brought his single layer fire suit instead of a multi-layer fire suit, and it just worked out that we had an extra multi-layer fire suit with the custom suit, and so everything kind of worked out. So the cords hanging out of the door right now are for his cool shirt, and in the trunk there is a little cooler that is full of ice water, and there's a switch in the car and a pump in that cooler box, and it's going to pump ice water through his shirt. I wear one also, and it really helps keep you cool in the car and keep your head in the game, because as you may can imagine, if you get exhausted, heat exhaustion and everything in there, your head gets out of the game and you start making bad choices, bad decisions. It can lead to a crash, could lead to getting past or just being slower, which is all stuff that we don't want. So anytime that we take fuel during a pit stop, the pit stop has to be 5 minutes long. So if you saw the beginning of this pit stop clip, I stopped down there by the entrance to pit road, and they put a little timer on the car, and we are not allowed to leave pit road until that timer reads 0. So when they first put it on the car, it reads 5 minutes, and when we get to the end of pit road, the goal is to have it counting down right as we stop at the end of pit road, and it reaches 0 right as we reach the end of pit road. So we've got the car fueled, Cletus is buckling in, CJ's going to set the tire pressures, I'm going to put a GoPro battery in the car, which unfortunately these GoPro batteries are only going to last about an hour and 15 to 20 minutes, and that's all of the footage that we end up getting. Unfortunately, I didn't have the time ahead of the event to practice that, or to rig up a cord that would charge the camera while it was in use. The memory card was plenty big, but the batteries were draining themselves down and only lasting an hour and 15 to an hour and 20 minutes. So we're going to wrap up this pit stop, get old Cletus out on track, and then you guys can go along for a ride with him.
which I'm not sure if that was because other people had pitted or what we got going on. But so far, so good. See if old Cleetus can bring it back in for the lunch break. Still in the lead. That'll be 2 hours from now. So we'll give you a couple of clips of his driving. And I felt a little sloppy, not gonna lie. I definitely felt a little sloppy because it's been a while since I've been in a road race car with street tires on it. It definitely takes a little getting used to getting back into these things. Similar to the Crown Vics, not gonna lie. So actually I see Cleetus coming. There he is. Woo. The gearing for the track is really good. Like, it just bumps the rev limiter in third. Going into turn 1, the whole lap is in third except for the back straightaway, which you probably saw in my onboard, but whew, we'll take a little bit of a rest, get us some lunch, be back at it in a little bit.
Alright, so you guys have seen some pretty exciting stuff from Cletus already. And I gotta say, you know, as the car owner, and I've been doing this for a pretty long time. Like, we haven't done it recently since you guys have known me on YouTube. But before that, we had 5 years of renting cars, maybe even a little bit longer than that, where we would rent the white car that we now use for the burnout stuff and our 300ZX, while David, myself, and Lee Saunders would drive this car, and like I said, we won a ton with it. But anyways, I always get a kick out of watching onboard footage of the guys driving our cars, because you kind of see, you know, how people do things differently, how risk averse they are, or how willing they are to put the car in a tight spot. And you know, Cletus has driven with me before back at Sebring in I think it was 2018 and 2019, and he did a really good job. Like, haven't seen a lot of guys in the car. I think we've probably had 20 or 25 different drivers in the car, so I've seen a wide variety of people driving the car, or our other cars anyway. And Cletus jumps right in, does a good job protecting the car. He's fast, and he gets out there and has a good time, maintains position. At this track, he took him a few laps to get up to speed, but you know, that's kind of normal for this kind of deal. He's never driven this car, he's never driven this track, and to go out, and we did fall back to, I think, about 4th on the exchange of pit stops, and then with him getting up to speed. But it wasn't too long before we were already back to 2nd, and then he's doing his best to start trying to reel back in the leader. So, hope you guys have enjoyed the ride along with Cletus. I'm probably going to cut up some of the footage now to try and shorten this video a little bit, because we're already over an hour long. But hopefully you guys have enjoyed the ride so far, and we'll see if we can get this race to its conclusion. So you're going to be seeing a lot of this green Miata with the white roof here in the next little bit. And that is the actual leader of the race. And he has passed us and is now 1 lap up on us. Well, that presents a pretty big problem, because if a caution comes out, well, we're stuck behind him. If we can get back ahead of him when they throw the caution, either for an incident on track or for the halfway point, if they throw the caution and we're ahead of him, well, then we get to make up most of that lap, and then we'll be able to race him for actual position when the race goes green again. So we ended up having a little bit longer than necessary pit stop. You know, the timer thing I was telling you about. I didn't send Cletus out of the pits until the timer read 0. So his whole slow ride down the pit lane at 20 miles an hour was time that was wasted. And it just took us a little bit longer than necessary on getting fuel in the car, plus getting the tire pressure set, and, you know, getting Cletus strapped into the car for the first time, which he does by himself, but you know, things take a little longer when you're first getting used to it, especially in the heat of the moment of a race going on. So anyways, Cletus is going to fight back up to try and pass this green Miata, and you can see that little booger is pretty sporty. Like, not only were they really quick, the car was able to last on fuel for a full 2-hour stint, which is the same pit strategy that we were on. You might have seen the white Mustang earlier that was a little bit faster than us and turned faster lap times than us, but they had to pit twice to our single pit stop. So the little bit that they were faster on track, we made up for by being in the pits less. That's kind of how this endurance racing goes. You know, there's a balance of trying to build a fast car, but also build a car that will last 2 hours on fuel. Now, this car that Garrett's following right now has a couple of different drivers that have driven it through the day, and one of them was super fast. The guy is, you know, borderline professional driver, you could say, and he got in and turned some blazing lap times. But, and I wasn't able to keep up with him, but the driver that's in the car now is a little bit slower, and Cletus is able to work his way by him. And I think I encountered the same guy later in my drive and was able to pass him as well. So another thing that you may not know, you may encounter the same car multiple times during the day, but you don't know which driver is in it. So the car might drive differently than the last time you encountered it. that I forgot to mention up until right now is about 30 minutes after Garrett got in the car, he radioed in that he felt like the power steering was going away. So once I got back into the car, I confirmed that she didn't have any power steering. So all this hustling that he's doing right now, close quarter racing, you can see he's got the leader behind him trying to pass him again. All this stuff where he's been passing and weaving around with people, he's doing without power steering. And when I get back in the car, and for my second stint, driving the thing with no power steering was way tougher than it was with power steering. I felt like it slowed me up about a second to a second and a half per lap, which I tell you, that just makes his drive that much more impressive to me. I mean, he's out there hustling this car. Like, he's fighting with the leader right here. Now, we are just trying to stay or to keep from going a lap down, but it's still racing with the leader. And obviously we've got speed like he's got speed. We just make the lap times at different parts of the racetrack. Like, that Miata is better in the brakes and in the corners than we are, and then we can make it up a little bit on the straightaways. So it's a fun thing to get out there, and it's really a chess match, you know, at 120 miles an hour. So something goofy happens right here. I remember they pulled out the yellow flags for a wreck that had happened on the front straightaway, but then the guys kept going and they pulled the yellow flags in. So we thought it was a full course caution, and if you pass on a full course caution, the series will black flag you and you have to serve a 5-minute penalty sitting in your pit stall where you cannot work on the car, you can't do anything to it. So that's what that little bobble was, just to add another little layer of excitement to his drive. But enjoy the rest of this drive with him, because there's a lot of good racing here.
before the lunch break because there was a caution. So we wanted to pit under caution because we were back to second, but the leader also pitted under caution. So I'm not sure exactly how that's gonna work out, but definitely making a race out of it. And pretty exciting here. So nope, we cannot work on the car. All right, well, that's racing. We'll see just what we can do in the second half of the race. Normally these things don't have a lunch break, but the lunch break kind of threw a little bit of weird strategy in, and we're trying to play the strategy. So I guess we'll see what happens. Talk to old Cleetus here in a minute about his drive. Be back in just a second.
All right, guys, first stint is done. We ended up P2. Went out there and, you know, learning the track, because I've never driven on this track before. Got us a couple guys around us, made our way back. We were P2 behind a green Miata going into the second half. So we got a 45-minute break, and then we got another 4 hours. Freaking insane, though. It's a lot of, realizing how out of shape I am to go 2 hours. I'm freaking cooked. What's the status, buddy?
Oh,
we're P2.
Yeah, you got us back to
But
P2.
we're pretty much a lap down on that guy, right?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that little Miata did that, but we're gonna try and catch him next time. So
we got our fuel stop in right before halftime, yeah, so you'll get in, go straight for 2 hours. I know.
So yeah, it's interesting. They're the only Miata that's been able to go 2 hours on fuel. So we'll see.
Yeah.
There are rules we have in here in the series, so we'll see if I don't know. We'll see if
are they technically in our class?
No, so we're leading our class.
But we're second overall.
Second overall.
Right.
Yep.
I want a number one overall finish.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
All right.
Overall does get a cooler trophy.
Yeah, we need that. What you thinking, buddy? Ready for a nice little after lunch 2 hour rip?
Yeah.
I'm so glad I don't have the after lunch one.
Ooh,
dude, now that we're
moisture on there, eh?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's from us. Ooh, I think it is.
Yeah, I saw a little white puffs coming out, but
yeah,
we had oil pressure, bro. That's all that matters.
Yeah. That might have been the power steering you were talking about too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, watch out for power steering. Strategy wise, I mean, we just gotta run our race too. We got a long time to go.
Yeah. Normally we put a wristband around the power steering cap, and I forgot to do that. Yeah,
well,
long race to go, another 4 hours.
Yep. Here's the deal, guys. That is actually the leader, and he's behind us, so we're pretty much a lap down. Looks like they're looking at stuff and not very happy, but we'll see. We need the old SC to hold on. You know what I'm saying? I'll change out your battery.
Yeah, let's change the battery.
All right. All right, guys. Kevin's going out for another 2 hours, and then we are back up, and we'll see if we can finish this off. 8 hours.
It's in the bottom of the camera. All right, look, get to where you can see the starter, and let me know the green flag. Call it when he starts waving it.
Well, as you guys may have noticed, that little section of racing was pretty intense. So what I was trying to do right there was get away from the leader, who was directly behind us on the restart, with the hope of that there might be another caution or something else that would allow me to easily make back up the majority of the lap where I was behind him, instead of having to, run faster than him every single lap until I catch back up to him. But what ends up happening is the green Miata with the white roof starts having some kind of problem, and they pit 4 or 5 times here to begin this second or the third stint of the race right after the lunch break, and that puts us back in the lead. So at this point, we are actually over a lap up on second place. Kind of the roles switched, and we were a lap down to first place. Well, third place was a lap behind us. And then there was a whole bunch of cars that were right in that area that were a lap down to us. And now it's pretty much on me and on the car to finish this race out. As long as we don't have any major problems, and as long as we can go 2 hours on fuel to where we get to where there's only 2 hours of the race left when Cletus gets back in the car, we should be in good shape. So we ended up getting a caution about the middle of the way through my stint, and to be honest, most of the racing, once we got the lead back, was pretty uneventful because some cars fell out and I wasn't having to race quite as aggressively, because now I'm just trying to maintain that 1 lap up on the second place car. But the only big concern that I have is that we cannot go the complete 2 hours on fuel, and Garrett has to get back in the car when there's more than 2 hours left in the race. So another Champ Car rule is that the driver can't be in the car more than 2 hours, which is kind of what we build the fuel capacity around, or what we engineer the car to have enough power to make the 2 hour run on the legal amount of fuel capacity in the car. So basically what I'm doing under this caution is I'm coasting up behind the pace car and shutting the car off and coasting for as long as I possibly can, and then I flip the ignition on, put the car in 5th gear, pop the clutch, refire the car, and then I run back up real slowly, really light on the throttle to catch back up to the pace car again. And I do that for 3 or 4 laps here to try and extend our fuel run so that we can make that 2 hour mark to go when Garrett gets back in the car. So I think I'll probably cut through the end of this caution and we'll get back to some racing, and then we'll get old Cletus back in the car.
right, guys, we got a problem. We're about to fuel up. The transponder is not working on our car, and we got to get that fixed while we pit stop here.
Up on the wall.
Hold the hood.
Got timing and swearing, stop swearing now.
Did they? I couldn't hear anybody.
Yeah, I know.
Well, folks, we're done.
We're done.
We're done. Kevin finished his stint, and the battery failed in the car.
Yeah, so it shorted out, and like all the electronics went nuts, but the motor stayed running, but it killed the ABS, so I smoked the front tires. It knocked the O2 sensor out, so it wasn't correcting the fuel, so it was way down on power.
Yep.
Ah!
What's up? I know, but who'd have thought that battery would just quit?
Yep.
All that. My battery.
Oh well.
Sorry, buddy. We only led the whole race.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dang.
Well, we get to go home early today.
Why'd you break it?
I don't know. That's race cars, I guess. But any day you can drive your race car in the trailer is a kind of good day. Yeah. Anyways. Well, we're gonna pack up the rest of this stuff, and then we'll see you guys in a second to sign off. All right, everybody. Well, we're leaving the track a couple hours sooner than we were hoping. Just dropped old Cletus off at his ride. It's funny sound in the car. So anyways, it's gonna wrap up this video. We will see you guys next time.
All right, guys. Well, I didn't really do a good job summarizing during the video itself, but basically the battery shorted out, which took out the transponder, so they stopped scoring us laps, and I'm out there making laps without the track being able to see me. But that's racing. We had a great time. Appreciate you guys hanging on till the end. If you have, I mean, an hour and 45-minute long video. That's just crazy.